devoted to qualitative research. Qualitative research is one of the most important research basically that we find for uh, uh, BRM, business research method. Many companies, lot of companies use this method and try to gain a lot of insights from that. So today we will have a closer look. I gave you a snapshot, which is there also in your book, right? This was the snapshot. Have you read this? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, tell me, or let's try to answer this question. What is the premise of this? Anyone, please raise your hand. What is the premise of whole question? So there is a problem solving that is required. What is the uh, uh, question that is being asked? Can somebody tell the premise? Raise your hand, please. Yeah, Arpan, go ahead.
So the main premise, I will say that to project the brand, how to project the brand in the customer's eye. So whether it will be a lifestyle apparel or a skateboard related thing or what. So projection is the main issue here.
Okay, project is the main issue. Suneet, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the main premise of this para is that what is the merit of a proper qualitative research? Means if the when corporation they are encouraging their employees to immerse in the skateboarding culture, so that know that how should they build the image of a brand. So it is like when a person look at a skateboard, he immediately thinks of their van shoes. So there's the whole gist of this case.
Okay. Harini, tell me why cannot we use uh, quantitative method in this? Harini?
Sir, yes, sir. So quantitative method, I think it can't be used because there is no much of sales. Recently, in the second paragraph, it was shows that it had a deal of $396 million. So somewhere on the other, their next target is for more sales of 500 million. That's why I don't think there won't be a quantitative method.
Okay. Also look into what exactly they are trying to find out, or what exactly are they trying to accomplish. They are trying to accomplish to know how people perceive this brand. What is the meaning of this brand to a lot of people? So that is very difficult to be captured through what we say through a lot of quantitative method. You cannot ask people to rate and then you can find, because you don't know what is being found. If you remember the first module where we talked about type of research, this type of research is what kind of research? Anyone? So it is either exploratory or descriptive or causal. Who can tell me which is it out of these three?
So is it
Descriptive and
exploratory?
exploratory. Very good. So it is exploratory, and that is why exploratory are mainly most of the time uh, qualitative kind of study. Okay. So let's start what is quantitative and qualitative. So qualitative business research mainly addresses objectives or techniques that allow you to elaborate. So basically you take a phenomena, any phenomena. So how people perceive their, let's say, shoes, or how people perceive their cars, how people perceive flying. So any phenomena you take and you elaborate how the phenomena is in the mind of the consumer without numbers. So that is called qualitative business research. So it focuses on finding the true inner meaning and new insights. Researcher, it is very much researcher dependent. So if you are being researcher and what are your interpretations, what are your biases, what are your experience that you are bringing to the table, they will kind of affect how uh, different qualitative research results come from you. Okay, so it's very much researcher dependent. What are the conditions when it will be useful? It is difficult to develop specific and actionable decision statements or research objectives. but it is useful when developing or and trying to understand any of the in-depth phenomena. For example, here we were trying to understand how people perceive different apparel. So this is mainly related to the skateboard culture. जो skateboard culture में क्या ये how people view this, right? So this was the second point illustrated. The research objective is that how it, any phenomena occurs in the natural setting. For example, how students learn in natural setting, how students give exam in natural setting, how let's say how for the first time people book their ticket and visit. So any behavior which is very particularly context dependent, for example, visit to hospital, visit to tourist places, and when a fresh approach is needed for the study. So that also. Any doubt till now? I don't think doubt should be there, but yeah, any doubt? You can always raise your hand and ask. Okay. Some of the qualitative and quantitative research. So please go through this. I think it's totally self-explanatory. I don't need to explain. Please go through this. Common purpose, both you have to test hypothesis and discover idea. Approach, you have to observe and interpret. It is very much unstructured and free form. Researcher is intimately involved, small samples, and most of the time it is exploratory. Okay. Whereas for quantitative, it's most of the time descriptive and causal research. You have to measure and test, and mainly you need large sample in quantitative, or you have to test certain specific hypotheses or questions. ये भी हमने भेजा था. This also I sent. Tell me what is happening here. How does a big company like P&G use qualitative research in their, let's say, in their product design? What I'm talking about? Anyone, please raise your hand. Only one. सबको पढ़ के आना था. This is not that hard. And you have to talk more in the class. I can't talk today in the class. Yes, Sunit, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, P&G uses qualitative research to review its product from every possible angle. It also uses research techniques, qualitative research techniques, to discover potential problems or opportunities for the product. They also use this qualitative research to review any business problems they are facing. For example, in this case, they are facing management problem, which they infer from the qualitative research done by their researchers.
Okay, good. Tarini, are they also talking about any specific product, logo or something?
No, sir. Only about outside research it has said much, and about something where they have made some outside interviews while P&G was suffering a huge loss in marketing problem, and they have also discussed about some business problems which are among the means due to low morale in the employees of the company, and some qualitative interviews with dozens of P&G employees.
Okay. They were also talking about how they have used focus group in herbal essence care. So उनका जो logo है, if you go to internet and see their herbal care essence logo has also changed over a period of time. So this is also very important how herbal essence hair logo has changed. And basically, as a company, they are using a lot of qualitative interviews, dozens and dozens of employees, and this is followed up by quantitative study. So it's not that we are forgetting our quantitative study. If you see the last line, but rather we are able to supplement quantitative with the qualitative, right? So for those who have not studied this, I'll leave this slide for a moment. Please read it. Okay. Uh, when we are contrasting exploratory and confirmatory study, data that are not characterized by numbers rather than textual, visual, and oral are called qualitative data. So the focus is mainly on stories, visual portrayals, meaningful characterizations. Why is everyone? Yeah. Focus is on stories, visual portrayals, whereas in for quantitative data, basically you are dealing with numbers, right? Which are being, let's say, uh, assigned in a meaningful way. So, जैसे हमने last class में किया था. So we took a lot of statements and then we assigned number to them. How much we agree or disagree. Is RJ a student? No. So RJ Namka, somebody is asking to enter. I am not
Yes, sir.
allowing.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, yes, student, sir. Rishabh Jain, sir. Rishabh Jain.
Rishabh Jain.
Okay. RJ, if you have entered and you are listening, please change your name. Okay. Roll number and then name. Full name. जैसे और सबने लिखा है. Okay. Don't come with the name RJ in the class.
Sir, I am extremely sorry. Actually, I joined using a different device. I am facing the issues with my original device.
Okay. So what I would advise is that we promptly change your name here. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Let us talk about appropriate configuration of three methods in research. So you start with what we call exploratory research. सबका मालिक एक है. Exploratory research से ही आप शुरू करेंगे, which will lead to descriptive research. Descriptive research से आप causal पे जा सकते हैं. Also, sometimes happen that you start with exploratory research and you directly go to causal research. Causal research से कुछ आएगा, new phenomena, and then again you have to supplement that. Also, sometimes descriptive research can give rise to exploratory research. So ultimately, अगर बोला जाए, all three research are very, very much interconnected. No single research exists in isolation, right? कोई isolation में नहीं है. In fact, if you see, even from causal, you can have descriptive research, right? So if you find certain phenomena which leads to certain phenomena, you can separately, work for their descriptive nature, right? So mainly यहाँ पे यही देखा जा रहा है that exploratory research, descriptive research, and causal research are all interrelated. Now, one by one, we'll talk this. Yeah. Okay, we have already seen this. Exploratory, it's for mainly for providing insights and understanding. It has to have characteristics and research process is flexible and unstructured, sample small, tentative, and outcome is generally followed by further exploratory or conclusive research. Descriptive may it is to describe market characteristics. Information is largely defined. Findings are conclusive, and you use it input for decision making. For example, how much leg space to give in a airline, or how much to price the airline tickets, what kind of snacks to give on airline tickets. So all these are descriptive research which will be used for decision making. For causal research, you have to determine cause and effect. This also we have talked about. Information is needed is clearly defined. Research process is formal and structured. Sample is large. Findings are conclusive, and findings are used as an input for decision making. So, देखो, both findings are conclusive in descriptive and causal, but only in exploratory research it is tentative, right? What does it mean? It means that when the sample is small, information is largely flexible and unstructured, you need to supplement your exploratory research either with descriptive or causal. Okay? Because only these two have conclusive results. So I hope you understand these three types: exploratory, descriptive, and causal. Now, write down these four words one by one. We will talk about them. One is called phenomenology. So phenomena, so usko logi. So phenomenology, ethnography, grounded theory, and case studies. We'll talk about these orientations of qualitative research. So this you should know. Little bit tricky, but we'll tackle them one by one. Right. So write down these four words. I'll give a minute and then we'll go ahead. Okay, okay. So we lost internet connection. I was talking about what is phenomenology. So it's a philosophical approach of studying human experience. So there are a lot of human experience people are going through this pandemic. People are confined to their house. So for example, student, how they have undergone the experience of studying at home, or a remote study, or a remote placement, or a remote internship, right? So these are different phenomena that everybody is facing. If we take, let's say, 10 students and we ask them to describe this phenomena, how they felt studying at home during this uncertainty. So this whole process will come under the phenomenology process. Another process can be how people, go for higher studies, how people determine whether they have to go for higher studies or not. So this is also, affected by many processes. Mainly, how much money is required, do you want, what kind of progress in your life. So basically human experience are, so many types, so if you try to study such experience, this is called phenomenology. So it seeks to describe, reflect, and interpret experience, and relies on conversational interview tools. इसके लिए we are going to do that in our class. This will be one of the projects that we will be doing, where I will conduct in-depth interview, and then you have to reflect on your experience as a student during pandemic. So you will get a greater understanding of this approach, right? So basically phenomenology may, you take something, ask, interview, and try to understand this concept. People who have, let's say, suffered from debilitating disease, how was, if somebody has contacted COVID, what was the experience of COVID in his or her life? That can be a phenomenological study. If somebody lost their near and dear ones, how have they coped up since last year or whatever? So these are called study of human phenomena, how people experience life around them. इसी में there is something called hermeneutics. Basically, it is approach to understanding phenomenology that relies on analysis of text. So क्या करते हैं, we interview a person and then we analyze the text of that interview that person has told. So that is called hermeneutics. Okay. And hermeneutic is a unit, is a text passage from respondent's story. So any in-depth interview we do, we analyze that interview by going through words or paragraphs or sentences of the interviewer. So that is called hermeneutics. Basically, it is an approach of understanding any phenomena through words. Which words? The words that are being said by the respondent. Okay, so that is called hermeneutics. If I'm going too slow or if I'm going too fast, okay, you can always ask me, or ask me to slow down or speed up. Ethnography, basically it represents the ways in culture. So ethnography is what? It's the study of culture. How people, so basically there are several cultures across the world, tribes across the world, which they have their unique culture, right? So you go, you study, you observe them. That is called ethnography, right? And participant observation basically is a kind of ethnographic research, where researcher becomes immersed within that culture he or she is studying and draws data from this, his or her observations. For example, how do children react in a supermarket? So I will do what? I'll just go sit in the supermarket and observe how many children are coming, what they are doing, how they're talking with their parents, what is their reaction. So that will be a participant observation. How do women go and shop for jewelry? So I'll go to a Tanish shop, I'll just sit there and I'll see different kind of women or men also. I am not saying that men don't buy jewelry, but if I want to see how women buy jewelry, I'll just go and see and observe them. So wo ho jayega, what that will be called the participant observation. This is one of the most important orientations. अभी तक क्या पढ़ रहे हैं हम? So if you are confused, अभी तक we are dealing with the orientations of qualitative research. So phenomenology, which is basically study of human phenomena, ethnography, study of cultures, grounded theory, and case study also will. So grounded theory kya hai? It is an inductive investigation, right? Where the researcher poses question about information provided by the respondents. So basically kya hota hai? You go and ask questions again and again and again from the research, from the respondents till you make a theory, right? So inductive reasoning matlab kya hota hai ki you start with data and then you make a theory, right? So that is called inductive. Deductive mein basically hota hai you start with a theory and then you go to the data. The inductive mein hota hai you start with the data, right? And then you build up a theory. For example, how do people behave in a how do Indians behave in a traffic stop? So where they have to stop or where they have to, how do they behave, right? So instead I can make a theory. So I'll take a lot of phenomena of people stopping at traffic signal, what they do. I'll observe them and then I will make a theory of behavior of Indians at the traffic signal. So that is called grounded theory. I take a lot of data and then make a theory. Or how do students are coping up, or how do students cope up during remote teaching? I'll make a theory out of it. So I'll take a lot of data and then I'll make a theory. So if I see that 10%, 20%, 30% of my data agrees with the theory, I will make the theory, right? So basically grounded theory is a inductive investigation, right? Inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning में बहुत students को confusion होता है. So that is why I have included this slide. Please go through this slide. Ask me if you have any doubt. I'll keep this slide on your, for a minute. Please go through this. Okay, so I'll just quickly recap. Deductive reasoning is acting a is a act of backing up generalized statements specific scenario. For example, determining the most efficient way to communicate with the clients, right? So you have a statement or a specific theory and then you go and top it up with a specific scenario. Whereas for inductive reasoning, first you make generalized conclusion and then those generalized conclusions come from a specific scenario. For example, deciding the incentive plans based on employee survey, right? So there is a basic difference. Pele, for inductive reason, I think data comes first and then the theory. For deductive, theory comes first and then the data. And the last one, this is the fourth orientation of qualitative study. This is called case study, documented history of a particular group, organizations or events. Themes are identify the frequency of. तो इसमें क्या करते हैं? We take a particular person or a phenomena. For example, how do students of KSOM cope up with remote study, or how do first year MBA students prepare for internship? So these are specific case studies. Why? Because we have already bounded uh, the theme. So KSOM student and first year, we have already bounded the theme and we are only talking about them. So we are talking about a particular group of people, right? First year KSOM MBA students. So this becomes a case study. So themes are basically identified by how frequently they are coming up in the narrative description. So if again and again some themes come up, for example, how do students prepare for, let's say, their internship? If I want to, study this phenomena, so I will see that, basically, if most of the students are preparing by groups, so they make up group and they study together. So group study is one of the ways, right? So thematic study may, if that comes again and again, we are going to talk about that. Common qualitative research tools are very, very important. Please read one by one about them. Read description and type of approach, and then एक एक करके हम उसको समझेंगे. I'll give you 5 minutes here. Uh, lot of things to study. Please read it slowly, and then I'll go ahead. Okay, so let us study them one by one. Focus group interview. Basically, focus group is a kind of interview where you have a free flowing interview with a group of people, let's say 6 to 10 people, led by a moderator, which can be the researcher. He will ask questions and you will try to get reactions from these respondents. For example, you want to know, how is Domino's pizza, what you like about them, what you don't like about them, and then एक एक करके तुम पूछो. And if you ask them and they will give your opinion, right? It's a very famous case study. If you go to Google and write about Domino's focus group interview, so you will get a lot of material. So see that, right? So basically they wanted to, so Domino's was having a hard time, because people were disliking its pizza. So they started focus group interview where they started asking group of people what's wrong with their pizza. So people started saying your sauce is bland, your the crust of pizza tastes like cardboard, and they had a huge amount of backlash, and then they used that information in order to improve. So focus group is used day by day. For example, if you see the uh, ad for Oreo, right? So they used a lot of people to go through that ad. Jisme, that the dad is, I think, working from home and the kid is there, and then they start playing. So whether or not if it was able to, convey the brand's meaning as Oreo being a fun biscuit or fun cookie. So they asked a lot of people. So focus group is very, very fast, easy to execute, allows people to piggyback each other's idea. Basically they will say, I agree or disagree, provides multiple perspective, is flexible enough to allow detailed descriptions and high degree of scrutiny. Focus group respondents, तो ये होना चाहिए. This should be 6 to 10 people, relatively homogeneous, and they should have similar
Sir,
lifestyle and
excuse me, sir.
yes,
Sir, in the
yes,
previous slide, can you go back to the previous slide?
yes.
Sir, this one allow respondents to piggyback off each other's idea. What does that mean?
So basically, if I ask you, how has been your experience of studying at home for last 1 year, right? So you will
Yes,
say
sir.
it has been demotivating, or it has been sad, or it has been good, or I'm able to do certain things which I was not able to do. I get a lot more time with my parents, right? तो तुम्हारे बगल में जो कोई बैठा हुआ है, he instead of giving his own opinion, he will piggyback you. He will say नहीं 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 नहीं, जो she is saying ना, I also agree. So that is called piggybacking, कि किसी के पीठ पे सवार होके आप चले जाते हैं. So
Okay,
that is what it is trying to do. Okay.
okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Good. Please ask questions, right? So if you have doubt anywhere, please feel free to ask. Okay, so group composition should be 6 to 10 people, should be relatively homogeneous, and you should have similar lifestyle. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि एक बिलियनियर को ले आए और एक pauper. No. So make sure that people have similar background, right? Otherwise, you will get a very, very distinct, you will get a very different focus group. So make sure that people have a similar experience. Focus, for example, if I don't have that, right? For example, I want to uh, uh, find out how people are going to react to Marvel movie. Okay? And if I bring people from 60s, 70s, right? People who are slightly old for such movies, and I bring kids and teenagers, right? That focus group will be totally havoc because people will have totally different ideas, and I will not be able to make sense of it. So make sure lifestyle and experience wise they should be same. Moderator is a very, very important player in the focus group. He is the person, he or she is the person who's going to lead this kind of interview and ensure that everyone gets a chance to speak and contribute to the discussion. मतलब इसका क्या हुआ कि अगर कोई नहीं बोल रहा है तो he or she will make sure that everybody gets to speak. If somebody is dominating, then your job is to make sure that he or she is not dominating and letting others also speak. Somebody is very shy and quiet, you should prod him or her to talk. So group moderator should also ask follow-up questions, right? For example, if you say that, you have had certain experience with certain brands, so there should be follow-up question. Was this always this experience, or was it sometimes this experience, or was it only one time of this experience that you are coloring the whole experience, right? So basically, you have to make sure that as a moderator, you are asking right follow-up questions. You are developing rapport with the group. You're a good listener, and you should not be biased towards any of the opinions that they are coming. So you should not say, "Oh, I agree with this. Oh, I disagree with this." No, your job is to listen and control without being overbearing, which means don't be, too much restrictive. Give them enough freedom to discuss, but at the same time, control the discussion also, right? So it's a very, very important job. Uh, One or two focus group also we'll try to do. Let us see how it goes. Planning a focus group outline. That's very important. How do you plan a focus group outline? You start with the introductory comments about group, why they have come there, what is the purpose, what is the rule. It can be something like, good morning. We are here to discuss about the experience of eating at Domino's. Welcome to everyone. Please feel free to add your, or give your opinion, and you can ask or start with the question. So this is a very, very nice discussion guide for focus group interview. I want you to read this. So I'll give you 5 minutes. इसको धीरे से पढ़ो, and please make sure that you understand how to conduct this, right? So it's a very important thing. Please read this.
भास्कर क्यों बंद करवा दे रहे हो सर को?
हाँ भास्कर
Okay, hopefully you have gone through this discussion guide for focus group interview. If you have any doubts, you can ask, or we will move forward. So we'll move forward. Focus group discussion guide. You should always welcome, and introductions should take place. Always make sure that you have a broad icebreaker that does not reveal too much about the specific. So give them a lump sum introduction, or give them a broad introduction, but then don't tell them very specific things. Don't make them biased at the very beginning. Questions should be more increasingly specific as you proceed. There should be very specific objective to be accomplished. So if questions are not there, then your whole focus group can be useless. So make sure that your questions are specific towards the end, and you should give a debriefing statement. Debriefing, basically you are telling them, the respondents, that how you know focus group objectives are being accomplished, and if they have any questions, you should take them up. Video conferencing is another way in which you can watch, or video conferencing is basically the way to go. The whole world moved towards video conferencing because of pandemic. So it is one of the way to uh, do focus group study. Interactive and online focus group. Online focus group, basically where the qualitative research effort is in the group of individuals. So basically what you do it online. It can be done through Zoom. It can be done through asking people to enter their comments in the comment box. It can be done through a blog, right? Focus blog is something that happens where people go to the blog and then they collect qualitative data. So I will say that comment below what has been your experiences of flying on Indigo Airlines, right? So this kind of continuous focus group where people will come and say that, if I have traveled on Indigo, what has been my experience? And then, or what has been your experience of Disneyland? What has been your experience of studying at home? Whatever you are trying to do, you should always give them a
Sir, you are muted, sir.
Sir, if you are there, your voice is not coming.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
रुक जाओ मैं कुछ बोलती हूँ सर आ जाते हो
अरे लॉक कर दो, लॉक कर दो.
So we were talking about advantage and disadvantage of face-to-face versus online, right? So these are very self-explanatory. I had just talked about how advantage is being fast, inexpensive, while disadvantage is less control over the participants. You cannot see sometimes the facial expression or the body language if they have switched off the camera. You may not be able to ask probing question, or you can reduce the time that is given to the participants, right? So maybe you have to then weigh both the advantage and disadvantage, and then you have to properly choose. Disadvantages of focus group, mainly because you have a small unique sampling problem, so it may not be representative of the whole population, may not be useful for discussing sensitive topics such as alcoholism, drugs use, domestic violence. People may not be, very much willing to discuss such topics. And lastly, uh, it costs a considerable amount of money, especially when you are, giving people uh, money for coming, and companies, PNG, Vans, they do give people money to come, right? So it can be also costly. This is another way, right? So abhi hum kya kar rahe hain, what we are doing, we are discussing one by one uh, different tools of research, uh, qualitative research, different tools of qualitative research. So we talked about focus group. Now we will talk about in-depth interviews and then conversations. Let's see. So basically, in-depth interview is one-to-one interview that we will be doing. Hopefully, I will ask your class to to make teams of 7 to 8, and we will have 10 teams from your class, every class, and I will conduct one in-depth interview and try to show that how it is conducted, right? So for that we will do later on, but mainly understand that it is a one-to-one interview where you have a professional researcher and a research respondent conducted about certain relevant business or social topic, right? So that this is very important. Uh, Laddering. Laddering happens when a particular approach to probing, asking respondents to compare between different brands at different levels, right? So you ask, let's say, somebody to distinct or to differentiate between Maggie and Yippee, or Horlicks and Complan at benefit level, motivation level, attribute level, right? So Horlicks, what are the attribute? Complan, what are the attributes you associate with that? What are the benefits you associate with Complan? What are the benefits you associate with uh, Horlicks? What is the value or motivation of buying Horlicks? Or so basically, उसको laddering क्यों बोलते हैं? Because you take two different brands and एक एक करके you start probing them one at a time. So it resembles a ladder, right? Because two distinct parallel brands, and you are talking at each level. So it resembles a ladder. That is why it's called laddering. Then you have conversations, which is very, very informal tool. You just sit with someone and you talk about, anything that you want. So conversations is a info. For example, you go somewhere new to live and you just start talking about, weather, or you start talking about anything, right? And through that you can gather information. Semi-structured interview, basically a written form and ask respondents for short essay type of response to specific open-ended questions. For example, how has been your experience of staying in this neighborhood, or where do you think is the best way to go and exercise? Where in the locality is the best place to go and exercise in the morning? Right? So such semi-structured questions, open-ended questions, which gives you ability to address specific issues. Responses are very much easy to interpret and without presence of any semi-structured interview, right? So this is important. Social networking, बहुत आसान है. What you do? You go to Instagram, you go to Facebook, you go to Twitter. What you do? You ask questions. Okay, my experience of using Dove has been this. What about yours? Write in the comments, right? You can do that. Social networking is one of the ways through which you can communicate with friends, near dear one, and then you can ask, right? So MySpace, Second Life, and Zebo, these are very unknown and obscure, but in today's world, you can replace them with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right? Tumblr. So a large portion of people in this information are consumer related. So companies also monitor these sites. For example, all the companies are there on Twitter and they monitor the brand sentiments. So if there is a lot of chatter for, let's say, Maggie, so that is being observed. If there is a lot of chatter for IPL, IPL is a brand that is being observed. So that is called brand sentiment. Free association and sentence completion, very simple. Free association, you will ask what first thing comes to your mind, and you give them certain stimulus. Uh, for example, you show somebody, a picture.
Sir, can you please explain again the semi-structured interview?
Okay. Semi structured interview में क्या करते हैं, we ask questions in written form and उनको बोलते हैं कि short essay type answer दीजिए for specific open ended question. For example, which is the good place to work out in neighborhood in early morning if I go to new neighborhood, right? Or which is the best place to eat? It's open ended question. Or where do you get your newspaper from, right? So such semi-structured means that it's not totally structured like a questionnaire, and it's not totally unstructured like focus group. So it is semi-structured interviews. Basically, you ask for written form and you get short essay type questions for specific open-ended questions.
So
Especially
like
the
in
question.
depth interviews, like suppose you give the example, if you want to, have a comparison between Maggie and Ippy, semi-structured interview, where can exactly it be used? I mean,
So
can you give?
semi-structured interview can be you ask, give me 5 adjectives for Yeppy and give me 5 adjectives for Maggie that comes to your mind. Adjectives though. So somebody will say tasty for Maggie, non-sticky for Yeppy, circular form for Yeppy, red color for Yeppy, yellow color for Maggie. समझ रहे हो? So those kind of open-ended questions in written form, right? So suppose if you have done last class questionnaire, so questionnaire के last में if I had given certain specific questions like in 100 words, right, your experience of interacting with peers in your class, what has been your experience of interaction with your peers in the class, right? 100 words. So that would be a semi-structured interview because you are asking for a written form and you are asking for short essay answer, right? So उसको बोलते हैं. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good. हाँ, तो हम यहाँ पे थे. Let us talk about sentence completion. People who drink beer are fill in the blanks. A man who drinks light beer, fill in the blanks. Imported beer is liked by fill in the blanks. Woman drinking beer in the commercial, fill in the blanks, right? So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get your intuition or your view of people who drink beer and how do you associate different people with different beer. And you can replace this with any product. People who drink Mountain Dew are, people who drink Coca-Cola are, people who drink Red Bull are, right? And you can ask people such questions. So that is called sentence completion. Other techniques are observation and collages. So collages में क्या होता है? You ask respondent to prepare a collage to represent their experience. Especially for children and in psychology, people who have gone through trauma. So you ask them to represent their experience without any written form. So you ask them to just cut out everything that they see in newspaper or magazines and put out on a big chart. So that is called collage, and people do that for lot of types in therapy, collage preparation. And other technique can be field notes. तो आप field में जाइए, ये observe कीजिए कैसे. For marketing, you can go to any of the shops and you can see any specific segment how they shop, any specific segment. So just I was talking to how people shop, how women especially shop for jewelry, how children react in a toys shop, how people react in a food court, right? You can just go and observe them. That will be called observation. Other techniques, something called projective research techniques, PRT. PRT is indirect means of questioning, which enables respondent to project their beliefs or feelings to a third party in an inanimate object or a task situation, particularly useful in studying the sensitive issues. For example, if a child has been abused, right? So you cannot directly ask child about abuse. What you do, you give him her doll, ठीक है? उसको आप doll देंगे, and then you will ask that person to talk to the doll as if he or she is talking to the, let's say, perpetuator or somebody who has done wrong in his life, the villain of his life. Domestic violence में भी इस technique को use किया जाता है, projective research technique, where you ask some person to believe what has been done wrong, what or has been done wrong to you, and then you talk to that object, and then you take up you take out your feelings out on it. There's a very interesting scene in Jab We Met. Do you remember? Where I think Kareena Kapoor kind of instigates Shahid Kapoor to look at the picture of his ex and talk to it and then burn it and then flush it, right? That is projective research technique, right? So you're talking to an inanimate object, that is the picture, and you're projecting your feelings on that picture, and then you can talk whatever you want, and then you feel lighter. You can do a lot of research through that, right? So that is projective research technique. Thematic perception test. बताओ, raise your hand. किसको क्या दिख रहा है? Raise your hand.
Butterfly.
आपको रेज करना है. Please see this. There can be at least 20 interpretations. Yes, Avi?
The first thing I could see is a butterfly.
Butterfly, very good. Prince?
Deep, a monster.
Yeah, very good. And two eyes with the monster. Good. Prince?
Yes, sir, I told that monster.
Okay. Arpan?
Yes, sir, exactly. Dragonfly, like something.
Dragonfly,
With two
good.
antennas. Yeah.
Aliva?
Sir, I think it's a spider kind of.
Spider. Unique answer. Abhilash?
Sir, drone.
Drone. Very good. And Trushita?
So goddess of Hindu mythology.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So Tarini?
Sir, bat.
Bat. Okay. Bat भी दिख सकता है. Alok?
Sir, like a crown, something like that.
Okay. Bhaskar? Alok has said, right? And Nirbhik?
Sir, I see there are two dogs facing each other and two women facing each other, sitting.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Two dog and two women. Okay.
Yes, sir. On the upper part, there are two dogs facing each other, and on the lower part, there are two women sitting facing each other.
Now you're saying, Sudhanshu?
Hindu goddess sitting in middle and two animal, something like fox or something, is praying her, and water reflection of the same.
Okay, now that you're seeing fox, I can also see fox. Okay, fox and somebody कोई बीच में बैठा है.
Water reflection also.
हाँ, water reflection. Dibyajyoti?
Yes, sir. It's looking like some Greek goddess types.
Okay, Ashish?
Sir, so that two hands in between, and the in the side there are some trees are there.
Okay.
Trees.
Great. Saurav?
Sir, I can see a samurai warrior with their water image.
Samurai warrior
And their water image symmetry.
water image.
Yeah.
Okay. So इसी को बोलते हैं, right? This is called projective. This is called thematic perception test. TAT. क्या होता है? You are presented with an ambiguous picture in which consumers and products are the center of attention. जो अभी हमने किया. Investigator asks subject to tell what do they see, and then we ask and then we interpret. This is also used in NDA. Those of your friends who are in who have gone through NDA, if you ask them on the last day of their selection, they are also shown certain pictures, and they are being asked to interpret. Based on their interpretation, the selection board either accepts or rejects them, right? So that is called thematic perception test. Okay. Another example of TAT picture. Do you think we need upgrade of our word processing software? Your boss comes and asks you. What will you say? Right? Write it here. So that is thematic perception test. Or what is she saying? That could be example of thematic perception test. Okay. How do you view this? Okay, so I think we have covered a lot of grounds here. I would want you to again see this picture. इसको एक बार देख लो. We have covered almost every picture, right? Every tool. So go through this tool. I'll give you 2-3 minutes, and then we will wrap up today. Okay. So this is the summary. Go through the advantages and disadvantages, and then I'll take the attendance. If you have any doubt for today's class, please ask. Okay, or I will take attendance. उसके बाद भी पूछ सकते हैं. Section C, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Abhinash?
Present, sir.
Aditya? Arindam Das. Aditya Arinam Das, absent. Anuradha Jena,
Present, sir.
Ashish Kumar,
Present, sir.
Chandita Mishra,
Present, sir.